I still hear my own laughter ringing in my ears like a curse I can't outrun. Economy? This is all you can handle. I said it with a laugh so sharp it cut the air. Right there in front of our whole family. And they laughed with me. My mother, my sister, even David's own parents, everyone, joined in like it was the funniest joke of the night. But David, he just sat there, fork paused over his plate, and smiled that quiet, tired smile of his. In that moment, I felt powerful. I felt seen. I had no idea I had just lit the match that would burn my entire world to ashes. My name is Alina, and for 12 years I was married to David. We lived in a small 2-bedroom house on the edge of the city, nothing fancy, just enough to get by. David worked as a financial consultant, always coming home with spreadsheets and budget plans. Every time I dreamed out loud about a bigger house, a real vacation, or even a decent car that didn't rattle when we drove over potholes, he would gently say the same thing. We have to be economical. Love. The kid's future comes first. I used to love that about him, his calm, his steadiness, but year after year, that steadiness started to feel like a cage. I was tired of saying no to life, tired of watching my friends post pictures from 5-star resorts, while I clipped coupons, tired of feeling like we were stuck in just enough forever. The resentment grew so quietly, I didn't even notice it had taken over my heart. I started comparing him to other men who wore nice watches and took their wives to Paris. David never complained. He just kept saving, kept planning, kept saying we were building something real. I stopped listening. That night at my parents' silver anniversary dinner, everything boiled over. The table was full. My parents, his parents, our 2 children, my sister and her husband. David suggested. We celebrate with a simple backyard barbecue instead of the expensive restaurant I had booked. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I threw my head back and laughed, loud and cruel. Economy. Oh, David, this is all you can handle. The words flew out like poison. My sister snorted. My mother covered her mouth, but her eyes sparkled with amusement. Even David's father gave a small chuckle. David looked at me for a long second, something unreadable in his eyes, then nodded once and said softly, "All right. Whatever makes you happy." I felt victorious. I felt free. But what I didn't know that night, what none of us knew, was that David had been carrying a truth, so enormous it would silence every laugh in that room forever. After that dinner, something inside me snapped. I stopped pretending. I stopped trying to make our small life feel like enough. I started going out more, dressing up, telling David I had work events, when really I was meeting Alex, my old college friend who had built a thriving real estate empire. Alex listened when I complained. He took me to places David could never afford. He made me feel like the woman I thought I deserved to be. At first it was just texts, then coffee, then dinners that stretched into long nights. I told myself I wasn't cheating. Not really. I was just surviving. David noticed the distance. Of course. He started bringing me flowers again, the cheap ones from the corner store, and I would roll my eyes and set them in the sink. He tried talking about our future, about maybe taking the kids to the mountains for a weekend, and I would laugh that same sharp laugh. Mountains. With what budget? David, this is all you can handle. Remember, the guilt came in waves at 3 a.m. when I would lie awake staring at the ceiling while he slept beside me, breathing steady and trusting. I remembered the man who stayed up all night when our daughter had pneumonia, the man who held me when my father was sick, the man who once looked at me like I was his whole universe. But then the anger would rush back in. Why should I settle? Why should I be the only one sacrificing? I deserved more. I convinced myself I was strong for finally choosing myself. I started planning my exit. I met with a lawyer in secret. I pictured telling David I was leaving and watching him crumble the way I had crumbled every time he said we can't afford it. I even imagined the kids choosing me because I would finally give them the life they deserved. The betrayal felt almost sweet, like justice for all the years I had gone without. David never raised his voice. He never accused me. He just became quieter, more watchful. I told myself he was weak. I told myself his calm was proof I was right about him. Until the night he sat me down in the living room after the kids were asleep and said, "Alina, I think we need to have a family meeting tomorrow. Everyone should be there. Your parents. Mine. The kids. There are things I need to say." I smiled inside. Finally, he was going to beg. He was going to admit he couldn't handle our life anymore. I was ready to deliver the final blow. I had no idea I was walking straight into the fire I had started. The next evening, the house was packed again, just like the anniversary dinner. Only this time, the air felt heavy, electric. Everyone sat around the dining table, curious and a little nervous. David stood at the head. Calm as ever, holding a plain folder. I sat with my arms crossed, ready to watch him fall apart. He didn't raise his voice. He simply opened the folder and began, "For 12 years, I've lived simply because I wanted our children to understand the value of hard work and real love. But there's something none of you know." He slid papers across the table, bank statements, company records, property deeds. I founded a fintech company 8 years ago. It's now valued at over $14 million. The modest salary I brought home, that was my choice. I wanted to see if the people I loved me, or the lifestyle they thought I couldn't give them. The room went dead silent. My mother's mouth fell open. David's father stared at the documents like they were written in another language. My sister whispered, "This can't be real." David looked straight at me. His voice stayed gentle, almost kind. "Elena, you asked me if this is all I can handle. Well, I handled building a company while coming home every night to a wife who was already leaving me in her heart." He placed another set of papers, down-printed screenshots of my messages to Alex, hotel receipts, even a private investigator's report. I've known for months. I felt the floor disappear beneath me. My face burned. The family turned to me, eyes wide with shock and disappointment. My own mother looked away in shame. David continued, "I've already filed for divorce. The assets are in a trust for the children. You'll receive what the law requires, nothing more. The house, the cars, the savings you thought didn't exist. They were never mine to begin with. They were ours. But you chose someone else's wallet over our life?" I tried to speak, tried to beg, but the words choked in my throat. Tears poured down my face in front of everyone. The man I had mocked for years stood there, not angry, not triumphant, just done. He looked at our children and said softly, "You can choose where you want to live. I will always be here." In the weeks that followed, the consequences crashed over me like waves. Friends distanced themselves. My family stopped calling. I moved into a tiny apartment with secondhand furniture and a job I had to beg for. Every night I replayed that dinner, my cruel laugh. The way I had thrown away a man who had quietly built an empire just to protect our family. David never gloated. He never posted a single thing online. He simply moved forward with grace, raising our children in the beautiful home I once dreamed of, living the life I had laughed at him for not providing. Now I sit here alone, the echo of my own words, the only company I have left. I learned the hardest way possible. That true strength isn't in what you can buy or how loudly you can mock someone. It's in quiet loyalty, in love that doesn't need applause. Betrayal doesn't just break the person. You hurt, it destroys the version of yourself you thought was untouchable. If you're watching this and you're tempted to laugh at the one who loves you simply, remember my story. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never trade real love for the illusion of more, because one day the truth will come out. And when it does, the only economy you'll be left with is the emptiness in your own heart. I'm learning to live with that now. And somehow, in the silence, I'm finally finding peace.